Hello. This week, I'm taking a look at my British and Canadian Army box. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is using the Easy Army Army Builder online. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on developing a Guards Division Battlegroup. And with that in mind, I'm probably going to be largely basing it on the Irish Guards Armoured Battalion. And as I've said before, these are all going to represent my section of the 30 Corps, which were the garden, which represented the garden part of the market garden operation. Now, in a previous unboxing, I did show you some Churchill tanks that I was thinking of using. I've completely changed my mind on that. Doing a bit more research, I didn't really feel they were going to sit well. So I've moved them on actually, and what I've looked to do is order some replacements because this is going to be, a vehicle heavy army really. So I'm going to be ordering a Cromwell tank, probably a Sherman 5, a Sherman Firefly, and probably a Sherman Mark 3. And again, as you may recall, I've got an M5 half track and also the Humber Scout Car for Brigadier Joe Vandeleur. Returning to the soldiers themselves, I'm going to be looking at trying to produce a couple of platoons, but from pictures that I've seen online, these come with heads and separate helmets, and it may be a hit and miss thing, but I've seen one or two that have looked a little bit like tin tacks with the helmets just sat on top of the heads. They just look a bit strange. So I'm going to be taking a lot of time over getting the heads right because I don't want that effect. And one tip that I picked up from somebody, and I just happen to have the sprue here, is to use the British 8th Army. I think I got this free on the front of a magazine, because on that the heads come with the helmets already fitted. So it'll be a good way to filter some different looks into the army by using the heads from this sprue. Another idea that I'm thinking of carrying over from my previous armies, to make it easier to identify my NCOs and my captains or my medics, is, via the helmets. So I think what I'm going to be going for is using the plain helmets to identify the NCOs and other key units. But I'll see how we go and I'll bring you back. Right, as you can see, I've put them all together now, and all I've done so far is primed them. I'm going to have two platoons, but as before, they will be two platoons, but I'll just pull from that whatever army I need. So it's unlikely that I'd field both at the same time, because obviously I'm going to be using them for my market garden games. So basically I've got two squads of 8 men with the NCO, and a forward observer and a man, medic and a man. Obviously their lieutenant and his man. Same on the other side basically. And then I've gone for a captain and his man at the front. Right, so as you can see, I'm still carrying on with my Guards Division Battlegroup, which are going to form part of my 30 Corps for the market garden operation. And what I'm doing here is I'm painting up the British, as you know, and I've gone through the first few coats. I've gone with it because I use Army Painter paints. I've gone with the leather brown for the primer. I've used Monster Brown to highlight some of the different creases and folds in the uniform to bring that to life. I've then given that a soft wash, Then I've gone ahead with the army green, which I've used on all his straps and backpack and helmet and everything. Highlighted that with an army paint necrotic flesh. And then I've just gone over it with a green tone, which is where I'm at the moment. And I've got about the last, I don't know, 10 men to go. And that'll be most of these green tones done after that. And I'll be going on to the paint the boots next. But I just thought I'd bring you back for a little update to see how it's progressing. I think I've said before in a lot of my videos, I use Pete the Wargamer's guides for my colours because there's very few people out there using army paints. So he's a good guide for me to use my paints on these. So I definitely recommend you check him out. I don't always stick hard and fast to every colour that he suggests. I do play around with things a little bit myself, but nevertheless it's a good starter for 10, you know, for starting them. But as you can see, you know, when I've done this green tone, I'm still going to have quite some way to go. But I think if anybody out there is, you know, if any of you have painted figures, they don't really come to life, do they, till you get to the face and hands. And then suddenly they start to look like they're getting there. But that's a fairly late stage. So, right, I'll crack on and I'll bring you when I get to bring you back when I get to a little bit further down the line. Finally, I've got to the point where I can start painting the skin. And I think, you know, if you're painting soldiers, you know that this is the best bit, because all of a sudden they start to come to life. Definitely my favourite bit when it comes to painting. To be fair, it hasn't been the weather for painting, but I've been taking quite a bit of time over these, and I wanted to wrap them up so I could press on with the vehicles and get up to date. Right, so I've just put the finishing touches to these now, painting, and they're all they've all had their final wash. It's been really tricky because with the heat wave and everything, it makes painting really difficult, because, well, it's just not ideal for painting in, because the paint's drying as fast as you're applying it. And I wouldn't normally have painted these when it's like this, because it's just too hot. But I wanted to get these done so I can move on to the vehicles in the army. I've got a decision to make once these are dry about whether to apply the transfers or not. The transfers that are supplied with them are not really ideal for the Guards unit that I'm building, but I'm also thinking that if I was to leave the decals off, I could use the same force by mixing it up for a future project. You know, I could have them involved in a D-Day project or something like that, but that's a long way down the line. For now, these are, as I've said before, they're going to represent my Guard unit, which is going to be a mobile unit, so it's going to consist mainly of tanks, half-tracks and trucks. So I wouldn't necessarily be fielding all of these at once, but from these I can pull out whatever army I want, and it just gives me that greater degree of flexibility. As I say, I wouldn't normally advise painting when it's this hot, because even with a wet palette I've been struggling. But there they are, they're finished now. As I say, I've just got to decide about the decals. If I don't go with the decals, it'll be basing up will be next, but I'll bring you back in another video for that. But for now, they're complete. I'll finish with a few close-up photographs just to give you an idea of what they look like, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please consider giving me a thumbs up or even subscribing so you can follow the next step on their journey, because obviously these are all part of a bigger project, my Operation Market Garden project, but they were a kind of a last minute addition because these are going to represent 30 Corps. I had originally just thought of focusing on the airborne element, but it seemed daft to go that far with it and not have the garden element as well as the market. So anyway, thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.